live.
Are we live? Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome everybody. Welcome to the Arundel Public Camera Club meeting for September 1st, 2022. My name is John Miller. I'm Club President for the 2022 season. I'm happy to see everyone who traveled out here tonight and encourage anyone in Maryland to visit us in person at the beautiful Severna Park Baptist Church on Benfield Road in Severna Park, Maryland. Before we move to today's topic, do we have any announcements from any officers?
Dues must be paid before competition.
Our secretary says dues must be paid before competitions. Anybody who has not paid dues yet, make sure to get them in. That way you can participate in our contests and our competitions and also our critiques as well, right? Right? Okay. Any other announcements?
Just one, the NPA photo contest opened today.
Okay, what I'm going to do, Ron, I have you as NPA next. I'm going to have you come on up here and talk about the NPA. Before Ron comes up, let's talk about our upcoming schedule. Let's see. Next week, September 8th, we do not have the room here the second, third Thursday of every month, and that is going to be a digital camera competition, and that is going to be run, I believe, next week on Zoom. Check out an email from our wonderful contest team on not only submitting your images to digital contests, the competition is open, but also a meeting link for bringing up the live virtual competition. Again, next week is virtual only. You can probably knock on that door. Somebody will probably let you in, but it's not going to be what you thought it was for. Yes, Fred.
Uploading your pictures, what do we do?
For uploading your photos, Fred asked about uploading photos. We now have a maximum, the longest side of 2048, which is going to look a lot better this year. The competition team ran a bunch of tests and made sure that came through fine. In fact, all of the images here today are somewhere 2048 size. And you'll get an email from the contest team with a link to the same as last year. Same stuff as last year. Any other questions? Okay, after that, we have a field trip. You want to talk about the field trip, Ed?
Oh, yes. It's going to be an exciting day.
Come on over to the microphone, Ed. All right? Yeah, I don't have that much set up yet, Christine. Come on over to the microphone. Tell me about this.
I like to see Ed run.
Well, it's going to be an exciting day. And it's going to start at 10 o'clock. And we can all meet at the Inner Harbor. And I got a little map of where we can meet. And they're going to have, we'll be able to board 5 different ships from different countries. And there'll be a flyover, where planes will be flying over. And during the day, there'll be different bands, different military bands, and different activities. And in the evening, it will be culminated at 6 to 9 at Fort McHenry for a wonderful evening show with fireworks. So it's going to be a wonderful full day. So hope to see everybody there.
Perfect.
Where would you go if you wanted to see Fort McHenry fireworks? Where would you try to photograph them from? Do you have any idea?
Fort McHenry.
Go right to the fort and or would there be somewhere in the distance? I don't know. I mean, when you go down to the National Mall, you don't go to right under where they're firing them. They're doing it in the distance with.
Well, why don't you guys figure that out on Facebook and let everybody know what you pick? The question was, where's the best place to find fireworks at Fort McHenry? Check out our Facebook group, because I'll let you guys hash it out on there.
Okay, thank you. That's a very important question.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And thank you, Ed, our field trip team, for such an amazing field trip that's coming up. That sounds like a lot of fun. On September 16th, we will have our own program chair, Christine Milliger, with a talk on still life, because the still life competition is October, right?
Yes.
Still life for digital and print is in October. And then on September 22nd, is everybody excited about bringing prints back? As much as I am? Prints back, print competition.
Oh.
Print competitions are coming back. We have it open. We have open for print competition, and hope to see you there. That is September 22nd. And without any further ado, I'm going to introduce our contest chair, Ron Piper, to get us kicked off and also talk about the NPA photo contest.
Just a few short things that you may want to know. Let's go to the MPA first. MPA photo contest opened today, end of the month it closes. So we've spent a lot of money and time with MPA to try to get the software working so when you go to send your pictures in, that it'll be much, much easier to use. Now, that said, I'm not going to reveal on a tape like this or on Facebook what our code is for our club. I sent you all out an email, so make sure, look in the junk mail, because a lot of anything I send that's important goes into junk for some reason. So make sure you take a look, see if you can find that. That's the code you need for the club. And then the cool thing about it this year is you've got 2 free entries. And then if you want to pay an extra $10 to go back into MPA to support their work, you get to enter 2 more. And you have 4 categories to spread those out among. So it could be pretty easy to use. And to respect that, this morning I put in 2 of the items I wanted to use and realized I made a mistake. You can go back in, change the title, change the price you value it for, or you can actually change the image and put something else in. So if you want to just get something in there for a placeholder at the beginning of the month and then kind of change it out and say, hey, this looks a whole lot better, let me put that in instead. So lots of opportunities. And the prize money, I think, has gone up to like $1,200. So it's got, we got a lot of, Steve has been working really hard to get a lot of contributions for us. So that's really good. Other thing that MPA is working on that might affect us, we're probably, I had pretty good feedback on the critique sessions we had last year at the beginning of the year. And these critique sessions, there seems to be interest at other clubs around MPA for this. So we're going to implement something this year. Now, this is not something for broadcast to Facebook, close your ears. But in the fall here, we'll start up some critique sessions, and we'll set up a little website for you to send your pictures in or to apply for it. And we'll have people from different clubs in it. It'll be a little bit small scale and kind of cool, and we'll have trained people running them. So I think there'll be a lot of benefit from them, and I think at this point they're free. So I think that it'd be a good cheap thing to do. Not related to any of that, by the way, is Barnstormers in Frederick County is going to be, I believe, next weekend on September 9th. So it's $20 a piece. You can pay online, but you have to go to the Linganore Methodist Church, I think it is. You can go, just look it up online, and you can order the tickets and go pick them up that morning. Kind of a cool thing. So a lot of good opportunities. Every year I get, it makes me think. I don't always get prize winners out of it, but it really does make me think. It's a great day to spend if it doesn't rain. So. Anyway, that's it. And John gave you a preview of what we have coming for the contest coming up. Really want to have some good experiences with prints. And we really need to have novices start to enter those prints, because that's the way you really learn and polish up your images to make them final. So whatever you do, please try to get ready, gear up for that. If you have any questions, give me a call. And we already talked last week about how to mat them up and all that. So that all still applies. And for what it's worth, I've got judges covering us way up into January, and some even in the spring coming up, and some really good people, I believe. I think you'll have a good experience. So, John, back to you.
Actually, Ron, it's going to stay on you, bud, because you're going to introduce what we're going to be doing tonight. We are working with a little bit of internet issues, and anybody that definitely hears this, we will have that back online tomorrow on YouTube if we don't get back online tonight.
Okay.
But if you just want to go ahead and work through this. Now, what I have set up on YouTube, on Lightroom, I've set up a bunch of people, the people that sent in smaller numbers first, and then the 5, 6, 4, whatever numbers at the end. And what I figured we could do is, do you have descriptions from people that might not be here?
I do not have those.
Okay.
Do you have those?
Is it on a spreadsheet? Okay. Bob has given me a flash drive. I will plug that in and I will bring the spreadsheet up and we'll cross-reference anybody that might not be here. And unfortunately, the first person here, let's see if we can go on to the next person. We have Kathleen Steele, Doug Wood, Ed Nahinke. We have you up there. Would you like to come up and talk about some of your beautiful What I Did Over the Summer images?
Put it on the other side.
Thank you so much for letting me talk about my 3 entries. I appreciate that a lot. That's not mine. Well, this is my wife, Betty, at Atlantic City, New Jersey. And she is so happy and cheerful. And I just wanted to capture this moment. What happened? I just wanted to capture this moment because we had such a wonderful time in Atlantic City. And the reason why we went to Atlantic City is my dad took us to Atlantic City when I was a kid. So that I wanted to relive my childhood. So this is reliving my childhood with my sweetheart. Okay? Now, I went to Arizona. I went to Denver, Colorado, and I decided to also relive what I took my family. This is Garden of the Gods in the Colorado area, and it's just so beautiful. It's just so beautiful, the red rocks and everything. So I just enjoyed this so much, and I took this shot showing the different formations of the rocks, and it sort of reminds me a little bit of Sedona. Sedona has the same types of rocks too. So this Garden of the Gods is a beautiful garden, and you can ride around and see different things and take pictures. It's really nice. So whenever you're in Colorado Springs, this is a place you want to go to. And this is the 4th of July. I always go to Oregon Ridge Park and listen to the Baltimore Symphony play. And of course, the last thing they play is the 1812 Overture. And then they start the fireworks again. And I really like this picture because I can see the boy over here watching the fireworks. And he's enjoying them so much. And I actually took this with a video. And you can push the button every so often and take pictures of what you see. So it's not really that highest resolution, but it's turned out pretty nice. And I love to watch the different colors of the fireworks. So I really enjoyed this picture so much, and I wanted to share this with everybody. So thank you so much.
I got a question on that. Did you have a time? Was that time? Or was that? Was it a long exposure?
I took it with the video. I took the picture with the video, and then on my camera, you can push a button, and it actually takes a portion of that and makes a picture out of it.
That's really nice.
And it's really a nice feature because you keep pushing the button, and then you'll find some things that turned out really nice. You know?
Yeah, you got some nice light.
Yeah.
Very nice.
Can you repeat that question?
The question was it a long exposure? And he said no, because it was on a video. But probably what happened is it put a bunch of video and made one picture out of it.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a really nice feature. And it's also very nice if you're doing a wedding, and all the people the ladies are coming down the aisle, you know, and you want to make sure you don't miss anything. So you take a video and you just keep pushing the button, and you'll make sure you get all the maids of honor and all the different maids and everybody.
What kind of camera is that?
This one's a Nikon, but a lot of cameras do this. Yeah.
Thank you, Ed. Those were amazing images. I love that one absolutely with the boy. I think the boy on
Isn't that nice?
he makes it right there.
Yeah.
That takes it from a standard fireworks shot to really putting you in the moment. Oh, let's see. The next person actually would be me. Christine and I have been doing a lot of traveling, especially over COVID, and trying to follow events that we can do our craft at. And when I saw this water tower, I just had to stop by and poke fun at it. I was able to fly the drone around the tower. This is the Gaffney, South Carolina water tower, and the locals affectionately name it the moon over Gaffney. I don't know why.
Like James and the Giant Peach.
Exactly. A comment was, looks like James and the Giant Peach. Absolutely does. On this same trip, we stopped by the UFO Welcome Center. You can actually go around and walk around. You can actually go up to the top of that, although I wouldn't recommend it. One whole side of this UFO thing here is actually being propped up by a plastic dollar store shelving unit. There is a TV inside with a lot of like UFO stuff being played. I can't imagine that this place is going to be sticking around for much longer because of how dilapidated it was, but it was kind of neat to be able to see it. And then what we did over the summer, we've had some really bad luck. Over October of last year, we lost our big 18 by 18 foot photographer's tent at Cedar Creek with a wind gust. And this was Gettysburg over the Gettysburg anniversary weekend. What was that? July 1st, 2nd, and 3rd. And we had a straight line tornado. They're not calling it a tornado, but it's tornado force winds, straight line winds, and everybody's camp completely was flattened. Ours, for some reason, was spared. And Christine and I were trying to hold on to that wreck of canvas and wood on the front while hail and sideways rain, and we were being hit by branches. And thankfully, none of the trees, even though the trees were severely damaged, none of the trees actually hit any of these historic buildings. We were caught by surprise. We had about $1,000 worth of customer tintypes inside that tent that were not varnished yet, and the varnish is the protective layer. And by a lot of luck, we were shielded by the house, and we were the only tent that stayed up. Our tent sustained heavy damage still, just like the rainfly in the front, but that was our summer. Who do we have next? John Verdi. Do we have John in the house? We do. Let's get John. John, do you want to walk up to the podium, or do you want to talk right there through that microphone? John's coming up to the podium now to talk about wow, look at this image.
So we were, my wife and I traveled July and August around Europe, parts of Europe. She's still there with her sister, and that's her shadow. This is at the Gothenburg, Sweden Art Museum. It's an art installation off to the left. I made the picture a little better by just cropping out that little yellow chair leg just to kind of neaten that up. But yeah, that was just there, and had a lot of wonderful things. We were really surprised when we went to Gothenburg, went to the art museum, that it was so extraordinary. And there is attached to it is the Hasselblad Pavilion. Now, Hasselblad donated a lot of money to this museum, has a pavilion, and so there was a photo show in there of Gothenburg, Sweden in the 1980s. So a lot of somewhat random photos, but a lot of this stuff was really interesting. That was a surprise. We didn't expect any of that. So that's that. This was in Friedrichshafen, which is on the German side of Lake Constance, or what they call the Bodensee, which borders on Switzerland, Austria, and people claim on Liechtenstein, but we never found Liechtenstein. So, and right along the shore, they've got a number of different sculptures. This was one of them. So I tried to get under it, not completely, so I could get it up with the sky in the background. And I don't know what more to say about it, but there it is. And also, this was in Friedrichshafen, same place, further down, just a giant Ferris wheel. I had it in color, and it's striking in color, but it's kind of distracting. So I put it into black and white, and I just kind of like the form of it. By the way, if you haven't been to Friedrichshafen on the lake, it's a kind of not a resort, but it's a vacation place. There's the famous Zeppelin Museum there, because Friedrichshafen is where Zeppelin factory was and still is, and actually Zeppelins are still being produced there, so that's really worth seeing. I don't like Ferris wheels. I used to when I was a kid. I used to love Ferris wheels, and I forget when it happened, but at some point in my life, I decided I didn't like them anymore. My wife likes all of that stuff, but it didn't. She didn't persuade me to go on this one. This one's pretty big. So that's it. That's not mine.
The interesting comment, when I was a kid, I couldn't stand Ferris wheels. They drove me nuts. But
I like them.
they're fine now, but what do you call them? All the scary ones, you know, that didn't bother me at all. But Ferris wheels, something about coming over the top just drove me nuts.
I'm gonna sit here and see if we can restart our internet, and then we'll have Lewis come up and give him some. I'm trying to restart our internet right now. Yeah, for some reason we can't connect. For some reason we can't connect to the internet, and I'll have to check with them afterwards. Lewis, let's get you to talk a little bit about your submission.
All right. Well, I really didn't go anywhere this summer very much. I went to Texas to visit my brother for about a week, but that was about it. So the temperature outside, of course, was pretty steamy, so I just stayed home and didn't want to wander around too much. So I started to find things that are a little bit different that I usually don't do. So this is my one attempt at still life. It took me a while to just kind of arrange everything around. I'm actually not that crazy about it. The biggest issue on this was the highlights in that onion there. But that was just something I did during the summer to try and improve my photography. And I think that's about it on that one. All right, now this one, because I didn't go out much at all because of the heat, really. So I spent a lot of time around my yard looking for leaves and patterns and stuff. And these are leaves of hostess plants. So it started out in just regular color. They were just green. And then I went into Nick mono, or black and white. I put it in black and white, and it looked pretty good. I liked the way the design was and everything. But then I was playing around with some of the Nick programs, and I hit, I think, Nick Colorize or something like that. And they have a lot of presets. And I happened to see this preset, and I really liked how it turned out. And that's basically how this particular photograph was created. I like it a lot, actually. I think it's, as far as form and everything, it looks pretty good. And that's probably about it on that. And then this was out in the yard, really, because I just kept going around the yard looking for things. This is actually in my sister-in-law's garden that she lives next door to me. And I saw these two, these two shells on the ground. I'm thinking, oh, that'd be nice, I'd shoot it. So I went into Nick again, and I started boosting the blacks and the whites and everything, and it seemed to pull together pretty well. A lot of people liked it on the Facebook page, and I just wanted to emphasize the lines and everything and make it very, very sharp. I think I actually sharpened it in Topaz Sharpen, which works quite well. So a lot of people liked it, so I thought it was very nice. I tried to just get just a nice black and white shot that had a little bit of interest. And that was it. It was just those two shells laying down there. I happened to see them, and that was it. That's the shot.
Okay. This is Rich. Rich, do you want to walk up to the...
Yeah, I'll walk up.
Okay.
Even though I think I can probably be heard. I had a very abbreviated summer interrupted with back surgery and radiation. So everything here is sort of from early June. They had an open house at the Mormon Temple. My wife and I went twice, sort of towards the evening, and I found this shot where if you go over to the side, there's actually a little reflecting pool. And I'm curious, because I'm thinking of submitting this, I'm curious as to what people think about me cutting off the one tall spire. I cut it off because if I didn't cut it off, the whole picture got small. And I didn't like it as well. And this is the one that captured the clouds the best. And I notice on here that this is not a rendering that I like. The darks are darker than I remember. I don't know if that's going to be an issue, but the darks look very much darker than I remember doing them.
This monitor is not calibrated. At some point we will.
Okay.
But since we're not doing the competitions on this monitor, it might not be something that we do unless we keep having reports on it. Does anybody have any thoughts on Rich with his spire cutoff up top?
I can imagine judges ignoring it, and I can imagine judges going,
I'll tell you, Rich.
idiot, cutting those off. And I have some that have the whole spire in it, but then the whole picture is compressed. And by chance, I didn't get as good a sky on those, but that's, yeah.
The question is did it shoot it in landscape or portrait?
Yes, it was.
Okay.
Yeah, and basically, there's this little shallow pond off on the side when you go to the Mormon temple. And so, and I can only bend down so far, but you're getting down there and trying to catch the image skipping off of the,
Yeah, now just in normal in portrait mode, you can get, a little bit more of the height.
well, it was very difficult to get just because of the shape. It was sort of a triangular shaped pool. It was a little bit difficult to get the whole thing without just backing up and making everything small. I made the choice. I'm just curious as to how important people would think that would be.
I like how much it closed in on the picture, and I think it improves it because you do cut it off, but it's not as important as the rest of the photo, and it pulls you in instead of pushing you away by being distant.
Now, with Christine saying that, I think the opposite. I think it's very important to have the top of that spire, and at the consequence of having less of that reflection. I like that crop, but just slide everything down so you still have that spire, but the reflection, who cares? In fact, you could even put a little bit of a gradient down there to get rid of it. At least my thought.
Turns out that's, of course, the most important spire, because on top of it is the figure of I don't know whether it's a warrior or whatever, with a bow or something like that. So it's actually a significant spire. Is it Gabriel and his trumpet?
Gabriel and his trumpet is what Cheryl came up with.
Anyway.
Let's move on to the next one.
And also, this is the strawberry moon.
Get in front of the, yeah, there you go. Get in front of the microphone there, Rich.
This is the strawberry moon. This was coming up in June, and I did the calculation. I didn't use any of those apps, but I figured out if I went down Rao Boulevard, it would rise right over the Capitol building, except the Capitol building is completely shrouded in construction. I kept going down to the city dock. There was a little party going on. There was a singer down there and, musicians playing and a whole bunch of people waiting. And this is it rising over Eastport. And this is the longest lens I use. I have some in between. I have one a little earlier when the moon is right over that mast, and one quite a bit later where it's a broader scene. But this is the one I liked. I don't know whether I did it the best way. I exposed for the moon. I exposed for the rest of it. Then I cut out the moon, moved it over. It left a little ring around it. I took the moon and I made it about 2% bigger to try to cover up the ring, and thought, okay, that's okay. It's one of my first attempts at trying to do that type of photography.
Very nice.
That was as much as I got done, and then my summer went to pot after that. I spent the rest of the time indoors.
Let's see, who do we have next? Sue, do we have Sue Weber here? Sue, do you want to? Now, what I want to do is, and we're going to make you guys all professional speakers by the time this season's over. Make sure you talk into the microphone if you go up there. And if somebody asks a question, the stream is not hearing that. So repeat the question and then answer it. Go ahead, Sue.
This was a wonderful bed and breakfast in Corning, New York. And I realized that tree is a nuisance, but the picture to me has the most impact when you read out the title that went with it, which looks like the TARDIS. If you're familiar with Doctor Who, how the phone box, the TARDIS, is bigger inside than outside. When I made this reservation, I just saw how many rooms there were available and thought it can't be that enjoyable or that big with so many rooms. The picture on the website didn't do it justice, but inside it was fabulous. And we got to meet the owner every breakfast because it was such a small number of people there. She had time to come out and chat and tell the history of acquiring it. And her actual connection with the city of Corning and the Corning Museum was quite interesting as well. So I guess the tree could be removed, but that's a whole lot of work. So I'm going to just enjoy the picture for how I first saw the place and a reminder of the vacation we had. This was a view from the Harper's Ferry Brewery, which is actually about a 20-minute ride from visiting our friends in Brunswick, Maryland. And I don't think the actual historic town of Harper's Ferry is actually aimed in this picture, but I just like the double leading lines, the corner of the fence post pointing toward the river and the bridge taking your eye out into the distance. But for those that know that area well, they probably can tell me exactly which direction town center of Harper's Ferry is, but I don't remember. And this was Ocean City. I was trying to capture people doing things without being too close to them for them to notice, so I was using the modest telephoto lens. So after I started reviewing the pictures I had, I realized we have a series of diagonal lines that were quite fun, including in the center, the position of the beach hostess's body is the center leading line. Also, the connection of the turquoise colors in all four of the objects in the bottom third of the picture. So I just thought it was fun.
Okay, before we move to the next person, contest team, can you bring up that spreadsheet and help me with people that aren't here? I'm just not going to be able to bring this spreadsheet up on my computer because I have all the monitors used up. Can anybody get to that spreadsheet through their Google Sheets? And if I go to some people that we don't have descriptions for, can they read them for us? And while we're doing that, do we have any, let's see, who else do we have here? Anybody here that, Bob, we have Bob Weber. We'll let Bob come up and talk about these fantastic images.
We went to the Richmond Museum of Art, and they had a meeting going on, and had this row of red chairs, row upon row, and I thought I'd take a picture of that and then start fiddling around with it, and that's what you get. It's basically been taken at an angle and folded to get the symmetry. And what was intriguing is the little heart shapes right in the middle. This is in Corning. This is the bridge that goes from the town to the Glass Museum. I recently got an 8mm fisheye lens and was basically fiddling around with that. You can see the extreme distortion you get, and then I folded it to get this kind of face-like creation. Apparently in Corning, if you stand on a bench, you get better signal reception.
Christine, get me a bench.
That's what that was.
Is this the same gentleman?
It is actually the same gentleman, but it's two pictures spliced together to try and look like
Yes, a duo, yeah. We went to Frederick to do the high wheel race, and they had set up the entrance for all the photographers, and I sort of just joined in.
You joined as a photographer or as a bike rider?
Oh, no way. As a rider, just as a photographer.
If anybody has any questions or comments while we go through these, just hold your hand up and we'll get the microphone to you. This one's Christine's, I think.
Yes, these are my photos. We were at an event in New Jersey, and this is the New Jersey Balloon and Arts Festival, and we found it by accident in the evening after our event was over, and so we went and took our chairs and sat down and had a wonderful evening watching the balloons. I took a trip with my sister and my mother to Philadelphia, and of course I had to go to Eastern State Penitentiary, which was their first trip there. And there was this wonderful fog bank that was over the city, and I loved the way it played over the wall of the penitentiary. It was raining, so I ran out, took the photo, and then ran back in because it was rather wet. But it was a fun day. John and I went up to Rochester, New York, and this is George Eastman House, and there's a wall that has all the dyes that they use for Technicolor, and this is that wall. And I could have spent hours photographing that wall with my love of macro, but this is the wall in its entirety. And then while we were up there, we were at a wet plate jamboree, which is a gathering of many, many, many wet plate artists. And this is actually John Coffer, whose farm and who the host of the event is. And he has lots of old equipment, and this ran out of gas on him, so he was filling it back up before he cranked it back up and got it rolling again, and his tractor. And while we were up there, we also visited Ithaca, and there's some lighthouses there on the lake there, and this is the one that's out in the water. We were actually sitting underneath the one that's on the shoreline, and I just love the way the boat was going past it, and the clouds that day were wonderful too, so that worked to my advantage.
Okay, that's it. Do we have some of the, Ron, how are we doing on that? Okay. Gotcha. We'll go through the people that are not here. But let's get everybody that's here taken care of. Donald Norris. We don't have a Donald Norris here, do we? Donald Norris has some good shots. Elaine. Fred. How about you, Fred? Okay. Let's have you talk about, get the microphone. Let's have you talk about this great set of images.
Well, thank you. This was shot out at Fort Smallwood, and what I was doing, I was trying to do a long exposure. Okay, I believe it's a 10-second, and I couldn't get up. I couldn't get down any lower without doing something. But anyway, make a long story short, you notice a building that's all the way to the left with the three, with the two. You notice that? Okay, just remember that. Okay, on that photo too, on the right-hand side, farther down, we've been out there shooting pictures with ospreys. Remember that. Okay, next photo. Any questions on that? Okay, this one was I was going to Germany, and that was taken through the window, of course, and it was taken with a cell phone. And that's Key Bridge.
Next image?
Yeah.
Okay.
I was out at Fort Smallwood, and this poor guy was hurting pretty bad. And I told the Rangers about it, and they knew all about it. But he was in pretty bad shape, but he had shiny eyes, though. Okay, this is the picture I was talking about. I took a picture and I moved ever so slightly, and because I wanted something to do with the background. I'm pushing with a 900 millimeter lens. Okay. Whenever you take a picture with a zoom lens, if something's behind it and you're closer to the subject, it's going to make it look big. So being that this one was a mile away, just like what you've seen on the one before, I was able to, it was taken the same day. Oh, no, it wasn't. It wasn't taken the same day. But anyway, the most important thing was the background, not the birds. The birds are, what do you call it? The bird is, the mother bird is the one looking off the side. I got a better picture of that one. And those are the two baby ones. And what happens with those birds, they're osprey. What happens about the middle of August, the male leaves and the female teaches them how to fish. And they leave about the 15th of September. And the little ones, they don't come back for a year and a half. But in April, May, the mothers, the adults will come back. That was out at Fort Smallwood. Oh, not sorry, out at Downs Park. No, yeah, I get them confused. This one I was out in center field and I was pushing on a 900, and it was actually 600, but it's cropped in and it's on a crop sensor. But anyway, what I was after the eyes of the umpire, the eyes of the batter, and the eyes of the catcher, and I was trying to get it off the bat, the ball coming off the bat. The problem is, mine only shoots 11 frames a second. Now I understand why one's got to shoot 30 frames a second. Then you're able to catch it. Because what happens is, just not fast enough.
Okay, thank you, Fred.
That's yours.
Oh, perfect. Christine was able to bring up the spreadsheet on her phone. Oh, Bob. Thank you, Bob, so much. Ron, can we get you to discuss some of your images here? Actually, Ron should have that microphone. Let's not take it away from him yet.
All right. I tried to look for some really beautiful settings and so on this summer, and I just didn't get anything that really rang my bell in terms of outside, and I did very little inside. However, we were in Wilmington, North Carolina, for a couple-day trip, and one of the historical houses there had gardens in the back, and I kind of did a few things because they were finger exercises to make me think about alignments and lines and so on and so forth. I've got a few other gates going into courtyards kind of arrangements from New Mexico that I've kind of compared this with, but trying to get everything aligned and get it interesting and be able to be clear enough all the way through is a bit of a challenge. So that was pretty much what I was trying to challenge myself and to get all the proper things exposed. It's not the most brilliant photograph, I think, that I've taken, but it was a fairly attractive garden. I was on two different battleships this summer, one in Norfolk and one in Wilmington, and this is the USS North Carolina. So I had a newer lens I'm trying to get used to, and it has an f2, so it's really good in low light. So down in the lower levels on the battleship, here's an area that wasn't extremely well lit, and because it was f2, you have the opportunity to get some effects with the focus fading out to a good, nice candy blur in the background, if that's the term. So that was kind of a fun picture. I'm not sure if that's the final picture or whether I'll use it for anything, but that did tell me the lens is doing what I wanted it to do. This was another thing. I took the grandchildren over to Udvarhazy, and I've been back there a couple times since my original trip there, and every time I come back with pictures from it, they just don't work. There are some wonderful things there, the Space Shuttle Discovery and this Blackbird aircraft and others, but I tried to work this one a little bit to see if it was improved by darkening the background pretty dramatically and trying to play off of some of the light on the bottom. I have a number of pictures of this I've done anytime I've been down there, and I'm just not happy with it yet. Part of the big issue is there's just so much in the museum and so much clutter, you just can't quite get it to work. But it was an attempt. This one I have more fun with this summer. My granddaughter and grandson both are student athletes. My granddaughter's the one carrying the ball, and this was flag football. And I had my 100 to 500 on the sidelines trying to get, I like faces, when you do these athletic events like this, if you get the faces and kind of get the emotion, it really works. But this one I had a lot of fun with because the girl on the ground behind, she's looking up at you too. And if you get, the thing that you always are challenged with is you need to get the lighting right. You need to keep the shutter speed up high enough so you can catch them in motion and stop them. Then you have to think about with the depth of field, trying to make sure that the main subject that you want is going to be in focus and that the other things that are not quite so much are there anyway. But it was happened to be a lucky evening with this particular shot, and I'm not sure it's a competition piece, but it was a fun picture to take.
Very nice, Ron. Thank you for sharing. Did we miss anybody that is in this room? Yeah. We did. Kathleen, right? Kathy. It's been so long since I've seen all your lovely faces. This is yours, right, Kathy? Yeah, that one is, yes. All right. Let's get you to talk about these images.
All right. This was taken in Porto, Portugal. We went on one of those Viking river cruises down the Douro River, which was very nice. It was a 10-day trip, I think it was. But this was the beginning of the trip, and it was kind of a misty day, so I had to fool around with the lighting a little bit. But I felt like it sort of symbolized the beginning of the trip, since that was a bus and train bridge over the river going into Porto. And this particular image was taken, we went on our own into Spain, and that was taken in a little village called Puebla de la Verde. It's actually, we rented a car out of Zaragoza and drove a couple of hours south to visit this little village because my partner's mother was born and raised here, so we had a good time just strolling around a very little village in Spain. And I was trying to get, the curving lines on this to show some depth into this village. And this one was taken in Michigan, on Lake Michigan. Leadington was actually the name of the place, and this lighthouse was called, this is Big Sable Lighthouse. It's about a 2-mile trek into the lighthouse through the sand dunes. I mean, there is a path there, but it was a very, very lovely walk. And again, my partner is a lighthouse aficionado, and she likes to mention the fact that Michigan has more lighthouses than any other state in this country. So that's the 3 places that we went this summer.
Thank you, Kathy. Mm-hmm. Christine, do you have Doug Wood's descriptions up?
I will find them.
Okay.
He gave no descriptions.
Doug gave no descriptions. Well, let's go through Doug's images. This one's called Manchester Cathedral. Oh, Jackie. Doug did a walk. Let's give Jackie the microphone.
Doug did a walk from coast to coast on England. I believe he went from west to east, and that's where the English pictures come from, and that's about all I know about them.
A walk from west. How do we know how long that walk is? Did he really walk?
Yes, he walked.
Wow, way to go, Doug.
Doug hikes a lot of places. I live vicariously through him. He's gone to the top of Kilimanjaro, and
so he's going to have legs, unlike Popeye with the arms. He's going to have Popeye legs when he finally comes to a meeting. That's great. Next one, this one's called Richmond. Oslo Street.
He just got back from Norway and he walked on some glaciers.
Wow. Overachiever. Is that a rainbow? Is that a rainbow in the back? Looks like it. Right. Very nice. And we're back to Ed's. Let's go back and go to our next person that we might need to pull up. There's John's. Lewis, we already had talk. Rich, we had talk. How about Tammy? Do we have Tammy's up? Christine? Tammy Gorsak with Summer Firework 1.
Her descriptions are the names.
Okay.
In Iowa.
In Iowa. Very nice.
Saw awesome fireworks in Iowa.
Wow, that's a nice firework photo.
Some more Iowa fireworks. This says, saw a hot air balloon festival in Iowa with over 100 balloons.
Wow.
Went on train ride in Iowa.
Thank you, Tammy, for submitting those images. Those were very nice. Let's keep on going and go to the next person. There we go. Is that it? Debbie Wolf? We don't have Debbie here, do we?
We do not. Hang on. I'll see if she has descriptions. She does. Hers are the names.
Okay, this one is called Permission to Buzz the Tower. She doesn't have a description, just the names?
It says permission to buzz the tower.
Okay. That's the Blue Angels. I'm sure they got the permission. The thought is graduation week for this one here in the membership. Pasture Pals. I'm for reals. Is that a poisonous one? No. Bambi's Break. I like the framing on that. And Morning Mist. That's all we have from Debbie. Thank you, Debbie, for submitting those. How about Donald Norris, Christine? Does Donald have any descriptions for us?
No descriptions.
No descriptions. Okay, let's go through them anyway. This is Boathouse. Fawns. Osprey. Bee and Flower. Gnome Village. That's really cute. Okay, we have Elaine Hambley. Elaine's not here. I did not see Elaine walk in. We don't have Elaine here. Do we have?
She has extensive descriptions.
Okay, well, give me the description for exploring Black Forest Burn, and it cuts off.
Exploring Black Forest Burn Scars. The massive wildfire in Black Forest in 2015 destroyed acres of pines and houses. Much animal life was also lost. The boot upside down on the fence stake is to commemorate the loss of a beloved horse. What's the name?
Hot Beverage Foggy Morning.
We spent some chilly summer mornings in the clouds at 7,478 feet. On those days, a hot beverage and a comfy chair was called for, so time could be spent enjoying the view.
Field Day by Elaine Hambley.
We got to spend our first Colorado field day at Black Forest Regional Park. It was time well spent socializing and watching a fellow ham make a CW contact at 35 WPM.
That's right. I forgot Elaine moved out. Bob, you know what this stuff is, don't you? Bob says Morse code, 35 words per minute, and that's ham radio gear. And then mutton busting.
2022 Pikes Peak Rodeo or Bust. At the mutton busting event, watching kids scared silly, hanging on with all their might while a sheep races to the other side of an arena, trying to dislodge them from its back. It was fun for us, not sure about them.
And then long, steep grades.
Traveling east on I-70, we came to the Eisenhower-Johnson Tunnel outside of Keystone, Colorado, which runs under the Continental Divide. We had just crossed the Continental Divide above the tunnel on Boreas Pass.
And that's it for Elaine. Thank you for sending those in, Elaine. We're glad to hear from you. Did we get everybody? We got Fred at the end. We got Ron. I think that is everybody. Did we miss anybody here? I don't think we did. Can we get the lights? And we'll, unless we have any comments, we'll close the meeting up.
Sorry.
You guys laugh, but I don't want to take it home.
Back in 2 weeks.
Christine, double check. Are we up?
I'll take it.
Microphone up.
Bring it back.
Okay. Thank you, everybody, for submitting images to what I did over the summer. Thank you, everybody online, although you'll see this tomorrow morning on YouTube. I will work with the church and find out what's going on with the internet. For some reason, some settings got changed, so who knows what's going on there, but we will get it fixed up. Don't forget, next week, we're not meeting in person. We are meeting virtually only. Ron and our contest team will send out. Bob will be moderating and be smacking hands if you all talk out of turn. Good. With that, don't forget to go to the field trip next, not this Saturday, but next Saturday. That sounds really like a lot of fun. I'm almost sad we're going to be out of town. All right. Any other business or comments? All right. Well, let's close the meeting out. Thanks, everybody, for coming.